Okay, everyone, a brand new week on the Celtic Way. Monday, the 15th of January. We're halfway through January, guys. No, it's how many days in January? 31?
31.
Nearly halfway through. We're nearly halfway through, and we've nearly signed a player. That's the talk. We're going to talk about that today. Nicolas Kühn, we've spoken about him a little bit. I believe the chat was he's going to have a medical in London today, but Ryan, you're learning, or you've read that he may have had that medical.
Yeah, so it sounds as if Austrian media are reporting that his medical's been finalised. You know, I think it was just the formalities to do with the medical. These players are in tip-top condition. He's been playing for Rapid Vienna, so it looks as if it was completed this morning, and I would hope that there's an announcement today or tomorrow regarding the player. We want him in as soon as possible, but it looks as if it's just a formality at this point in time, and he will be a Celtic player by some point this week.
Sorry, I've completely lost you guys from my ears. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we're just... Yeah, completely. What I did there was a very silly move. I went onto my phone to check for the wee script I'm going to read, and I turned my Bluetooth on, so this is now connected to my phone. So I've now got you through my speakers, guys. God, good start to the video. I'll just read out the thing then, given I've got it on my phone here. This video is brought to you by MPH Group, Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist. They cover mainland Scotland. Winter is, of course, rolling in, and if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, MPH has an enticing Navien Boiler Winter Promotion that may interest you. When you opt for a Navien boiler installation through MPH, you're choosing top-tier efficiency. You'll also be getting a free Navien Internet Controller, so you can gear up for the chill and consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien. Tony, speak about something for a minute to 2 minutes, and I'll try and fix my headphone issue.
Will do. Kühn, Ryan, I want him to make a debut on Saturday when he plays Bucky. Getting lots of feedback, but there you go.
Amish, I would probably mute.
Better, yes, going through speakers. But yeah, I want to see Nicolas Kühn straight away. I think you put out a tweet last night as well saying that you want him to hit the ground running, chance to open his account against Bucky Thistle, that kind of thing. And I think that's important as well. If he's been playing, he'll be fit. He'll have passed that medical, no problem. So he goes straight into the team for me, Ryan.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd put him straight in if he is fit and available, which looks like he is. Although I did actually hear that he had a knock, and that was one of the reasons why he didn't play at the weekend. He had a slight knock, and he was training on his own. It's a great start. You know, Celtic have been known to sign players that are not in the best condition. You know, you think of Marco Tilio, who we didn't see for about 3-4 months after he signed. So you're hoping that was just a small thing, and he'd be ready for Sunday. I look at that game against Bucky Thistle. I sense an opportunity for a player coming into the team to really make a name for himself. You know, any player actually that plays for Celtic should be looking to make a name for themselves against Bucky Thistle. That's just due to the gap between the two teams in terms of quality. But if you're a player coming into Celtic, you want to break your duck early doors with a goal or an assist. I'm looking at that Bucky Thistle game as an opportunity to do so. So if he's fit and available, then I'd throw him straight in on Sunday and get him acclimatised to his teammates, and hopefully he can get off to a flyer.
I think that's it. Sunday, so there you go. Sorry about that.
Monday for me. So yeah. Where do you think Kühn fits into like our second half of the season? I know that may be a very difficult question to answer before we really see him and we kind of know what the squad's going to look like and all of that stuff. But he's right-sided, so he's going to be battling it out with Abada, probably. I know Maida's kind of played there a fair bit. I would say Maida may play more on the left. I know Palma's there as well. But would those be our four main wingers, Tony? And then you've got Yang and Forrest and Mikey Johnson. And a second question would be, do we need those other three players still to be there?
Not particularly, no. But I think that your first part of the question, that's who you'll be battling it out with. And I'd like to see Kühn win that battle, to be honest. I'd like to see him come in and hit the ground running and see what he's got. But Celtic are shelling the best part of £3 million on him, aren't they? No guarantee he'll be a success, but clearly he has been scouted. You hope Brendan Rodgers has scouted him as well, because to all intents and purposes he was the top target for this January window, so they appear to have landed him. So I'm inclined to agree with Ryan. I'd like to see him get in a goal and an assist on Sunday if he comes in, either or, preferably both, so that kind of relaxes him a bit as well. But I think if he's got any smarts about him, then he could very well displace Maeda, couldn't he? Might have a battle on with Abada, but they might rotate those three as well. And but that's quite a healthy looking right side for me, if you're including all of those three players. And then you've also got, as you say, Yang, Forrest and Johnston. But I don't see any of them getting a lot of game time now, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be sporadic impact sub appearances from the latter three. But the first three, certainly I think will fight it all out to be the first choice for the rest of the season.
And there's Telio as well. I don't think I mentioned him there, but that's basically you're up to 8 wingers now. Johnston, Telio, Forrest and Yang are basically in that kind of latter 4, and then it looks like the 4 that Rodgers will really be relying on would be Kühn, Maeda, Palma and Abada. Obviously, I mean, John's brought up there, we spoke about this last week, the fear that Kühn may be a replacement for Abada. I just think that it's important that Rodgers has players that he trusts now, and I think it's important that he does trust them, because I don't get the impression that he fully trusts Mikey Johnson. Like I get the impression that, and I know Mikey Johnson finished quite well at the end of the year, but I get the impression that he's a player who kind of played because there was no one really else at that stage, and Yang as well, in time maybe a good Celtic player, but at the moment I'm not sure he has that trust from Brendan Rodgers. Forrest has been a great Celtic player, but again, when I don't know if you guys remember when Rodgers was asked about James Forrest in the summer when he first came to the club, the first thing he said was, he's now in a different part of his career, which even at that stage I found quite telling. And obviously Telio seems a bit off it as well. So I think it's important now that it looks like we have 4 players with decent pedigree. Obviously we don't really know about Kühn, and I know there's still question marks about basically the other 3 for various reasons, but those 4 wingers now, I feel like once we get Kühn in, we can tick that one off. Rodgers hopefully has options there. What else do we see for the rest of the window then in terms of incomings? Obviously, we've spoken about this loads, but left back would be one. There's a forward as well. Helen, I think, was asking there about. Sorry, it was Hazel actually was asking about the Brøndby striker. I think that's Kvistgaard, and how much would they want for him this time, because we're in for him in the summer. So is that the kind of big thing we're expecting to see? And are you hearing any names, Ryan?
2 names that have been linked are Sidney van Hooijdonk and Matthias Kvistgaard. Now, I think one would be a lot more expensive than the other, because one of them's going through a title charge at the moment with Brøndby. He might even cost more than what he would have in the summer, because they want top dollar for him to even think about him leaving the club. He is their main source of goals and assists in the team. He is their forward-thinking player that's doing really well this season. Although I don't think his goal record's that great. It's not like a prolific striker. He's more like an industrious striker that gets goals and assists. Not unlike some of Kyogo's records in Japan before he had that real goal scoring sort of run of form. But that's not to say that he won't turn into that player in the future. What age is he? He's only something like 21, 22, so he's definitely a player for the future. If Celtic see him as a viable option for the future and the present, then I wouldn't be against them paying good money to bring him in. But I don't want them signing a striker for the sake of it, just for half a season before they go and have a look at the summer for more ideas on more permanent strikers. If they're bringing in somebody, I want them to tick both boxes, that they can make an impact now and in the future. Because as much as you maybe don't want to talk about it, Kyogo's 28 as well. 28, he's in the prime of his career, but that'll go in a flash. Celtic have always got to be looking for the next step in a striker. O's 22, 23, so he's at a good age to develop. But you do need another striker in there. You need to start thinking about the medium to long-term future as well. If you can bring a 21, 22-year-old that is a good talent and he's got that potential to move forward and push forward as a player, then I would be all for it. I just want that. I want both of those boxes to be ticked for now and for the future, because if you're bringing in a player for only 6 months, it makes no sense whatsoever.
We've not really heard much about loans, have we? Unless I've missed it, Tony. I mean,
No.
I guess as the month goes on, that will probably come into play.
The loans you've only heard are outgoing loans, which we spoke of earlier before we came on. And
we'll come on to them.
Yeah, so, and we're all favouring that. But I want permanent players. And if you're asking what I want for the rest of the window, I do want a left back and I want a striker. But like Ryan says, as for Fiesgarden and Sidney Van Hooijdonk, so be it. I mean, the links are still there. They're not exactly going away, but they're not possibly as hot as they once were. And also, I think Majowski also said he was quite content at Aberdeen, didn't he? That's usually the sign that somebody's about to walk out the door. That's like a manager getting the dreaded vote of confidence type thing, that kind of stuff. But I just want somebody that can put the ball in the net. I don't particularly care what age he is. I don't care about resale value. We spoke about that the other day as well. I just want somebody who can plunder goals. And I think Celtic are looking at strikers then, it has to be somebody that can put the ball in the net, because he's going to have to come in when Kyogo's not there. And also, I mean, if you're a striker with repute at all, you will score goals at Celtic. That's the thing, isn't it? Ryan said 21, 22-year-old. I don't know, I'd be a wee bit averse to that. I would really want somebody older and somebody that has a rep for sticking it in the net, which is why I keep coming back to the likes of Shankland and Majowski, who know the Scottish terrain and have done it repeatedly. So I'm not averse to any of those guys coming in. Fiesgarden and Sidney Van Hooijdonk, I'm not so sure.
The thing is, it's all good having potential, but as you say, Tony, it's all about putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's absolutely priceless in the game of football. You need somebody that's going to take the chances. Yes, these guys might make you resale value down the road, but it's every bit as important to have a player that can stick the ball in the back of the net right now rather than in the future. Yeah. If you can get somebody that can do both, then that's absolutely ideal. But I think the main thing that Celtic should look for is a proven goal scorer that can be trusted to put the ball in the back of the net when it matters.
We're living in the here and now, and the here and now is that there's a £60 million bounty up for grabs by winning this title in the new Champions League. So I would think that way, as opposed to anyone coming in and resale value, and that's what kind of not depresses me, but it kind of annoys me about Celtic at times when they do business. They're bringing in players for the sell-on. They're projecting 2 and 3 years down the line. As soon as they come in, what they can get for them when they leave. I want players to come in and just play for Celtic, and we'll worry about that later if we have to at all. You know what I mean? I don't care about their next move. I want them to come in and give their all for Celtic. So that's what gets to me at times, the way Celtic operate and do their business.
Yeah, it's a balance. It's finding a balance. As we said last week, it's about having gems in your team, and we have real gems in our team at the moment. I mean, Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate could both go for, record Celtic fees potentially. And there's a few other players certainly in there that will go for big money, I would say. But, it was just in the summer, I think there was a real moment for us to kick on, and as we all know, we didn't do that transfer-wise, and we've kind of, not only did we not kick on, but we kind of took a step back and we kind of moved to a lot of projects, whereas in the previous 2 seasons there wasn't nearly as much talk about projects. But Kühn certainly, I would say, is more first team ready than a lot of the signings in the summer. Certainly the attacking signings, I would say he's more first team ready, certainly than Tellio, certainly than Yang, who are wingers as well. So I would hope that he can come in and really make a bit of an impact. JJ McGarvey was asking, there any word about Tellio to Hibs on loan? He's obviously away with the Asian Cup with Australia at the moment. They won their opener. I think Japan struggled. Did they draw in their opener?
They won eventually 4-2, but
So they
Vietnam
did. Sorry, I saw that.
ahead
Yeah. And South Korea play, I think, Bahrain later. So I noticed that neither Maida nor Hatate featured at all for Japan, came off the bench, and I don't think Telio did for Australia either. So far, not a great tournament. I don't know if I'd have many high hopes for Owen and Yang. In terms of the Telio to Hibs stuff, I think that would make sense, but you wonder if anything will go on while he's away at the Asian Cup. Blake, if we move on to outgoings, you want to say something quickly, Ryan?
I was just saying, I was speaking to a Rapid Vienna fan over the weekend, and they really rate Kühn highly. He is a player that's going to excite the Celtic fans for sure. I asked what his main strength is, and it's one-on-ones and taking on his man. That's what Celtic need. Celtic need somebody that is going to take on their man and beat them, and he seems to have that in his locker. So, yeah, a very exciting. Says his end product needs to improve, but I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers can sort that.
Heard that about Jota, didn't we? And his end product turned out to be pretty good. Yeah. Right, Blake bringing up Adam Montgomery. He says, I've read that Adam Montgomery looks set to join Motherwell. Hopefully it goes well for him. Montgomery has been at Fleetwood Town, who are now managed by Charlie Adam, which is a bit strange, but there we go. They must have a thing for former Scottish midfielders as their managers. So he's been recalled last week and is now, seems like he's going to go out on loan to Motherwell for the rest of the season. That follows off the back of Hyukyu Kwon, surprisingly I must say, going to St Mirren on loan for the rest of the season. So is this a new policy from Celtic, Tony, to loan players out to other Premiership teams? Is it the fact that maybe Rodgers wants to see more of them? Personally, it's something I'm a fan of.
Oh, big fan of. Huge fan of that. If those players aren't going to get minutes with Celtic and will just sit on the bench, then get them out to clubs that they can, that they can go and get valuable game minutes and see if they can come back and bring something to the table at Celtic. And no better than playing in the Premiership, because you get to know all your surroundings and who you're playing against, who you're coming up against. And also, I think Kwon's first game's against Rangers, isn't it? I believe. Is that right?
I saw someone commenting earlier, I think a St Mirren fan actually commented earlier saying that because Bacchus is away at the moment, Kwon could make his debut this weekend.
Okay, well, if he plays in the Scottish Cup against Queen of the South, so be it, but then his first league game could be against Rangers. So, I'm all in favour of that. You just look at the examples that we've had in the past with cited Christopher Ayer, Ryan Christie and Liam Scales, who all went to Premiership clubs, Scottish Premiership clubs, and came back and made a valid contribution with Celtic. So I like you, Hamish. It's a win-win, I think, for Celtic, these kind of situations, because I don't like seeing players contributing nothing. So if they can go and get game time, sharpen their skills, hone their skills, and come back an improved and better player, then what's not to like about that?
Are either of them genuinely playing for the Celtic future, or am I being incredibly cynical in suggesting that maybe neither of them are going to maybe make it at Celtic? Ryan, what do you think?
In order to have a Celtic future, they've got to do well on their loan and show why they deserve to be playing at a higher level than the level that they've been sent to. I know it's the same league, but it's completely different playing for a St Mirren or a Motherwell to be playing for Celtic in this league where you'd expect to win absolutely every single game. For Montgomery in particular, he needs game time as well because he's been injured for a lot of the Fleetwood loan. I think he made only 6 or 7 total appearances. I was reading the mood music of the Fleetwood fans that were watching him, and they didn't have too much to say about him whatsoever. They didn't think that he made an impact when he did play, and he was injured for a lot of his spell. So if he can get some consistent game time at Motherwell under Stuart Kettlewell, then that would be a positive, definitely. He's a good young player. He had a good loan spell at St Johnstone, I believe, last season. And
they liked him, certainly.
Yeah, they liked him a lot. Yeah, I've seen a couple of St Johnstone fans on that Fleetwood sort of on that sort of news story saying that they would take Montgomery back, which shows that he's quite highly rated, especially in the SPFL. But hope he has a good loan spell. For Kwon, it's just all about seeing how he acclimatises to the league. He's not even had a league game for Celtic, so his experience probably against Rangers will be his first league game in Scotland. You know, talk about a baptism of fire, but if you can do it in any game, then you're hoping it's that one. If he was to get a good result with St Mirren against Rangers, then I think that loan spell would be a success already. But you're just hoping he gets game time. Yeah. Hopefully he can show what he can do. I thought Stephen Robinson's comments towards him were quite interesting. It seemed as if Brendan Rodgers really wanted to send him out on loan to get him game time. He recommended him to Stephen Robinson. I know the two of them have spoke quite highly of each other in the past. So Robinson's got it under good authority that Kwon's quite a good player, judging by what Brendan Rodgers has said. Hopefully he can get game time and come back a better player in the summer, and they can take it from there. But right now he's a St Mirren player, and you're hoping he can get as much game time as possible.
This is going to, be an incredible kind of stereotypical thing to say, and I apologise, but I do get the impression with Kwon, he just needs to be roughed up in a way, like at St Mirren. He needs a 6 months in Scottish football with, the physicality and the speed of the game, and there clearly is a talent there. I just feel that he needs to kind of grow, maybe in terms of, he's quite a tall guy, but probably in terms of, his own physicality. But I think it's great. And Thomas bringing up a really good point as well, saying, they've got to look at Scales as an inspiration as to what can happen. Liam Scales was in just as kind of difficult as a position as both of them, if not a worse position, at the start of the season. He took his opportunity, Tony. So there's always a chance there. But I think we've decided it's good news that we're sending them to other Scottish teams, because it strengthens them as well when they go up against who.
Of course, that's it. I mean, that's the whole point. You just get them as ranks as acclimatised to Scottish football, the rough and tumble of it all. You don't see them when they're sitting on the bench, maybe coming on for 5 or 10 minutes. You just don't get. It's not a decent sample size. So now we can go to a club. What he will bring to the club is he's been at Celtic, so he knows what he knows the demands there, the demands to win. So he can take that attitude to St Mirren and help them with that in terms of what he's learned so far at Celtic. And what he will get is game time, because probably part of the conversation with Rodgers and Robinson would have been, look, I'll give you this player, but he needs to play. And the two of them get on really well. So so he's probably guaranteed, yep, I'll play him, because if you're telling me he's got something, then I'm willing to give him that chance. So and like you say, he has got a few months to convince people that he has a future at Celtic and he will make it. He's not in the Liam Scales camp just yet, because Liam Scales was more or less out the door, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden it's flipped for him. But that's how football works. It's a toss of a coin sometimes. It's sliding doors moments, isn't it? Kwon is a real chance now to say, okay, I'm going to show Brendan Rodgers and I'm going to show St Mirren that I've got something in my locker here. And good luck to him, and I hope he does do that. I want Celtic players to do that. I want Adam Montgomery to go to Motherwell on loan and be a star of the show and show that you're just that wee bit head and shoulders above, because you have been at Celtic. You've trained with better players. You've learned from what we deem an elite level manager. Go and show it then, and then come back and say, right, I'm ready. I can grasp it now. I'm ready to handle it. Some players just can't handle it, and I think Kwon, as you say, it's maybe came too quick for him, the move to Celtic, and he's just not been ready physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever you want to say. And go and prepare yourself with a club like St Mirren and Adam going to Motherwell as well, and then come back and we'll have another look at you and see what's happened in those few months. But I'll be looking at them thinking, right, how many man of the matches are there going to be, or how many, especially in Kwon's case, goals and assists. I'll be looking at that, especially with Kwon moving forward to see what's happening with him,
Yeah, I'm actually really interested by the Kwon one, in particular, because we just don't know how good he is, and I know he's been kind of written off, and I kind of had a wee go at writing him off there when I was asking Ryan that question. But, you know, the more I think about it, the more we don't know at all. And Celtic obviously saw something in him. So it'll just be interesting. We'll find out, I think, over the next 6 months. Listen, if it doesn't work for him at St Mirren, it's obviously not going to work at Celtic. But if he puts in, like, you know, excellent performances consistently for St Mirren, he could definitely come back and feature for us next season. I'll give you a few other players as well I think we should be looking to do similar with. See if you agree. Lagerbielke, potentially. I don't know if he would go. He's a Sweden international. He may look slightly higher level, but I don't think he should be snobby about it. You know, if there was a space for him at an Aberdeen or a Hibs or someone like that, I would like to see him consistently playing, because again, he's not someone who is going to play for us in the second half of the season. Tillio, we've spoken about him to Hibs as an obvious one, and Odin Thiago Holm as well. I'd like to see him go out to a Scottish team. Let's really see what he's made of. You know, again, send him to you know, an Aberdeen or a Hibs. Notice I'm leaving out Hearts, guys, because I don't want to give them any help. I don't think we really have ever sent players out to Hearts, have we? But yeah, I'd like to see more of these. And someone else there a minute ago, I've lost the comment now, was talking about Mikey Johnson as being another one. Ross it was saying any chance of getting Johnson. I assume he means Mikey Johnson. There's Yang as well. So we have a lot of players there that I think aren't going to play for us in the second half of the season, Ryan. So let's get them out and playing, and I'm glad that we're starting that now.
It's about time you utilise the league that you play in. You know, there's a lot of negatives that are associated with Celtic playing in the Scottish Premiership, but there's some positives as well in terms of, you know, the fact that they're still playing in the same league. These players, that can only be good for their Celtic careers, you would imagine. If anything, it gives you an idea of whether or not they're going to make it in Scotland. If they can do it at St Mirren and at Motherwell, then at least it puts them in that window of opportunity of coming back and then maybe staking a claim. You know, you only have to look at players like Tony Ralston, who did not have very good loan spells, or I think he had maybe one or two and then another couple of mixed ones. He came back, he took his opportunity under Ange Postecoglou, and now he's not a starter, but he's still getting involved. He is still he's still available if Johnson was to get injured, and then in the off games where he can start games. So, you know, he's made himself useful, but I'm sure his loan spells would have helped him in that regard. I know he had a season before he then went back and played first team football for Celtic or at any consistent level, but it would have definitely helped his development. I want to see that more. You know, it looks as if, I think it's Mackenzie Carse from the B team is going to Queen's Park as well. I think that's a good move for him, especially under a good manager like Davidson. So yeah, I'm all for that. If there is a move to be made, and maybe some of the higher quality players can go to the teams that are maybe playing better football, even like your sort of Hearts and Hibs, your Aberdeens, if you can pass them to those teams and know that they're playing at a good level with forward-thinking managers, then I would be all for that as well. I agree with Lagerbielke, although I think his expectations are to play in Serie A, to be honest. It looks as if he could get that move, you'd much rather a player plays in Serie A than the Scottish Premiership. I think that is a higigher level for him.
But is he coming back if he goes to Serie A and loan? I would kind of say that's it, no?
If Brendan Rodgers doesn't rate him, then I don't think there's any point of him being at the club, to be honest with you. And I do want him to succeed at Celtic. I was excited for him coming through the door. But if Brendan Rodgers is going to be here for 3 years, as he said, or even longer, as he might have hinted, then I don't think Lagerbielke will outlast him and wait for that next manager to come through the door. If that's the case, then there's no point pressing pause on your career to wait for a manager to go so that you can get another chance at the club. I think it's best for him if he probably moves on, whether that be loan with an option to buy or just permanently in the window. Don't know if there's anybody that would pay the money at this moment in time. Although, you know, Genoa have just sold their centre-back for, 25-30 million. So they've definitely got money in the bank. If they were looking for a striker, I think it was Dragusin that went to Spurs. He made his debut yesterday. But if Genoa were looking for a centre-back, then potentially there could be a deal to be done there between the two sides. But yeah, I think his future lies elsewhere, to be honest. And that's just the fact that the manager doesn't rate him.
Yeah. And we're kind of now reeling the countdown, Tony, till kick-off. Some of us are even maybe going to Bucky. It's not me because I'm so far away, but
I'd be impressed if you were going to Bucky, Hamish.
you know.
Yes,
I'll be maybe. Yeah. I was going to crack an alcohol related joke there, but no.
I might be darkening Bucky's doorstep tomorrow, and not the alcohol. But yeah, indeed, I think there's something happening there. But yeah, if it's there's a light smattering of snow in East Kilbride, so I dread to think what it'll be like up in Bucky. But check the weather forecast; it to snow for the next 4 days. But hey, if the boss man wants to send me to Bucky, who am I to disagree or challenge that? So yeah, could be going there, Hamish, to speak to a couple of players and managers, and Rob Douglas, I think he's making an appearance, so that should be good fun.
I think how buzzing those players will be this week, knowing that they're buzzing and nervous for the big game at Celtic Park. I know it's not going to be full, I know it's not going to be nearly full, but it's still going to be one hell of an experience, and it'll probably be a pretty strong Celtic team, given that we're coming off the back of the winter break. Well, Rodgers will want the players to get minutes rather than rest them, so it's going to be a very interesting game in terms of, you know, what the score is. I certainly expect Celtic to win the match, and hopefully score a good few goals as well, but it'll just be good to you know, get the team back and have games to talk about. We got a comment right at the start saying you know, what a long weekend, and I can't agree with that more. Yeah, it was like, it seems a while since that St Mirren game, doesn't it? Like, it's been, it's going to be good to get back.
Yeah, this should be the centre of attention in football focus, wouldn't it, Hamish? They would do a big feature on Celtic playing Bucky Thistle, and they would take the cameras up and they would speak to, you know,
someone in the local bakery who's doing special Bucky cakes for the occasion.
They would have all the rosettes up, wouldn't they, and all that kind of stuff, out on the windows and of the local community. So yeah, it's but as you say, it just seems like forever since Celtic last played. We did say that it was going to be a long break, didn't we? And it's prone to be that, but we're getting there. The countdown's on. Can't wait for it to come back.
Yeah, it's been kind of strange because obviously we live Celtic, and obviously everyone watching this, apart from that one St Mirren fan, will all live Celtic as well, and we kind of do it for a job as well. It does, the winter break does allow you slightly, certainly in my case, to just kind of take a wee step back from things. But you know, when we get going again, it's going to be an amazing end to the season, Ryan. We've got so much to look forward to, and it's going to be a real kind of title race, I think. And maybe people will have their thoughts on whether we should be in a title race. I personally don't think we should, but it's going to make for a pretty interesting end to our second half of the season.
Yep, 2 trophies up for grab. At the end of the day, the first defence of that Scottish Cup trophy starts at the weekend, so it's all about getting your name in the hat for the next round. I know I'm going to throw out loads of cliches from now until Sunday, but Celtic have just got to go out and do the business. If they show any sort of good performance, then it should be more than enough to beat Bucky Thistle, but got to respect the opponents. It's their big day. It's one of the biggest days in their history. They're bringing down a big crowd by all accounts, about 5,000. I don't know if they've completely sold out their allocation, but if they have, that's an absolutely incredible number. It should be a good atmosphere in the game. You're hoping that a lot of Celtic fans turn up as well. You'd expect to see maybe some empty seats here or there, but you want it to be a good... You're hoping that people are starved by the fact that there's been no football for over 2 weeks or 3 weeks by the time it gets to Sunday, and they're desperate for any form of Celtic football, and they come in their numbers. But first defence of the trophy starts on Sunday. They've got to just do the job, get a couple of goals, bring on the debutant who you hope will be signed by then. If he's not, then be a tad concerned, but you know, no injuries, get a couple of goals, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself going into, you know, what is going to be a very, very busy second half of the season. Both League and the Scottish Cup. You're hoping, presumably, if Celtic get the job done on Sunday, which you would think would happen. It's going to be enjoyable. There's going to be plenty to talk about, and I can't wait to get our teeth stuck into it, to be honest. Yeah,
and the women's team in action as well, as Pete has pointing out a derby for them this weekend. So lots happening, and we'll be here to talk about it. We'll be back tomorrow as well. Maybe a signing will have been announced by then. Maybe we'll get a new name in the media as well to talk about. But until then, we'll say goodbye. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks guys for your time, and we'll speak to you this time tomorrow.